We missed a little bit at the beginning, which, I mean, it marks an anniversary, a poignant anniversary, but there will be many poignant anniversaries involving the loss of British service personnel on active duty. So I suspect that this was designed very much to address some comments made by the Vice President of the United States of America yesterday.
Mr. Speaker, tomorrow marks 13 years since 6 young British soldiers were on patrol in Afghanistan when their vehicle was struck by an explosive, tragically killing them all. Sergeant Nigel Coop was 33. Corporal Jake Hartley was 20. Private Anthony Frampton was 20. Private Daniel Wade was 20. Private Daniel Wilford was 21. And Private Christopher Kershaw was just 19, a teenager. Tomorrow also marks the 18th anniversary of the death of Benjamin Reddy, a 22-year-old serving with 42 Commando Royal Marines, killed in Helmand Provost in 2007. These men fought and died for their country, our country. And across the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, 642 individuals died fighting for Britain alongside our allies. Many more were wounded. We will never forget their bravery and their sacrifice. And I know the whole House will join in me in remembering them and all those who serve our country.
19 after 12. I think it's pretty clear that element of his statement was made with the words of JD Vance very much in mind. The claim that Britain is a, quote, random country that hasn't fought a war for 30 or 40 years. Kemi Badenoch was invited yesterday to respond to that hideous suggestion.
Well, I know JD Vance quite well. I've looked at the comments. I don't think he actually said that. I think a lot of people are getting carried away. They're saying loads of things and getting quite animated. Let's keep cool heads. America is our closest ally, and I believe that President Trump and JD Vance want peace. They're looking after their national interest. We need to do so as well.
So do you think he was talking about France, not Britain?
I'm not getting into that speculation.
It's a good job she never does gaffes, isn't it? Because then she'd have to backtrack and apologise for them.
I don't have very cool heads about this one, James. It's just, it's ridiculous to insinuate that she wasn't speaking about... Who else was he speaking about?
Like only 2 countries have pledged to put boots on the ground.
It honestly made me so angry.
Did it?
Yeah, genuinely.
Me too.
Yeah,
I can't remember the last time we've been united in... I mean,
No.
not just you and me,
Yeah.
but absolutely everybody, except it would appear Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah, and I was listening to you yesterday and I sort of saw the reaction start to come through from British politicians and could not agree more that this guy, and I think Nick said it, dumb as he is aggressive, totally, you know... And this is, you know, I've just come back from Washington. I don't know if I've mentioned this. And I've, you know, spent a long time, you know, seeing Keir Starmer try to repair this special relationship and try and keep it on track. And then JD Vance goes and says something stupid like that. And it makes my blood boil. And
I think, and you may disagree, but I think Starmer... this is what makes him very interesting as a politician, is that his patriotism is real. It's quite an unfashionable patriotism. It's not a performative patriotism, but the way you just articulated your affront at what he said, I feel Starmer feels that very keenly as well. That was that was a very, very authentic moment in the Commons.
Yeah, there was absolutely no way that he would have said that and marked those occasions, you know, without the comments that we'd had from JD Vance yesterday. And that was his way of saying, I'm behind my troops, I'm behind my country. We'll never forget their bravery and their sacrifice. A subtle nod to the fact that he thinks that JD Vance couldn't be all wrong on that. And yeah, look, he had to row back on those comments yesterday, didn't he? JD Vance said, I wasn't referring to Britain, I wasn't referring to France. Well, come on, mate. You know, we're not silly. You've clearly, it doesn't clearly mean a lot to them, like it means a lot to British troops serving in this country, that we stand side by side and with Afghanistan and Iraq. And actually, really interesting language that Keir Starmer used over the weekend. I don't know if you noticed this, James. Coalition of the willing. Do you remember when that was used? That George W. Bush used the phrase coalition of the willing when he was trying to get us to come and stand up beside them in Iraq, and we did. And America, you know, under previous administrations, have been incredibly thankful for that sacrifice that we made. And it's no coincidence that Keir Starmer is using that same phrase, trying to get the US to give that security guarantee.
Good spot. And yet, I as we have been discussing all morning, the world in which assurances from Donald Trump on a Thursday would still be relevant the following Wednesday is not the world we live in. I don't know that he's ever made a deal or a promise that he hasn't broken. So I don't know what Starmer is supposed to do differently. I don't think he can do anything differently, but
I think he's doing all he can to do what he can, and I think he wants to take Donald Trump at face value, but we know that it's really difficult to do when he's going to stand up in the Oval Office and say, oh, did I say that last week? I don't remember that, or, and row back from his words. And, officials that I talk to...
Vance has done it in the context of what you've just been discussing, pretending that he wasn't referring to Britain and France. It's the most obvious and egregious lie.
It's crazy. Like the officials I've been talking to this week, on Monday, they were terrified about what Donald Trump was going to say about the State of the Union, non-State of the Union address that we saw last night. Because of the comments that you'd seen him come out with on Truth Social about Zelensky on Monday. And actually then this morning someone said actually that went a lot better than we thought. Clearly he's cooled down a bit. We have such an emotional president, and the fact that our officials are trying to decide foreign policy on the behaviour of the US president and how he might feel when he wakes up in the morning. How crazy is that?
Yeah, and that is day 45.
Exactly. We've got, as he said, what did he say earlier? We're only just getting started.
Day 45 in the house, in the White House.
No one's going to get this. None of your listeners are going to get that reference, are they?
Of course they are.
It's far too young.
And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people are telling you. Is it a sort of damage limitation exercise? He is very, very emotional. The one big mystery about Donald Trump is whether or not there is a sort of master plan. The Project 2025 stuff clearly carried a little bit more weight than some of its early critics, early poo-pooers allowed. But he also is a petulant man-child who responds to sort of caressing and cajoling. So is that what Starmer's going to try to do, do you think? And just sort of be the person that he talks to first, even if you can't trust a word that he says? Yeah,
I think he wants to keep him as close as he can do. And we've seen that because Starmer has been talking to him day in, day out throughout this entire peace summit that he had on the weekend with European leaders. A minister told us earlier this morning that he wants to be seen as an honest power broker between all of them, and doing what he can to bring all sides together is clearly the only thing really that he can do, right? And keep those open channels of communication open between Europe, between Zelensky, and try and negotiate something. And John Healey's flying to the US today. He's going to be speaking to his counterparts, put the back channels for this peace deal and what it could look like. And so far, since Keir Starmer returned from Washington, he hasn't got a public rebuke from the president in any way of anything he's saying, apart from, I think there was a comment about the peacekeeping operation and him saying, what the hell were they thinking, or something similar. But it wasn't quite an attack on Keir Starmer. So far, I think he thinks I can bring everybody together and give it that my best shot. It might not work, and I think there are people in government that realise quite how volatile a Donald Trump administration is going to be. And Keir Starmer clearly spending a lot of time on this, isn't it? He's got a big in tray as it is, and he is now spending a good significant chunk of his time on this. Is Donald Trump serious about a peace deal? Yes, I think he is, but he wants a quick peace. He might want a peace deal that might not be a lasting one, and that's what Keir Starmer's worried about. But yeah, so I think Keir Starmer is doing all he can right now.
He's comfortable in this space.
He's more comfortable than I thought he was going to be. And I think he's done the legwork on this, right? Spending the last 8-9 months speaking to European leaders. We were calling him Air Miles Keir and all that jazz,
well, you say we.
Sorry, we. The media yes. were calling him Air Miles Keir and all that stuff. And he was getting a lot of criticism and a lot of heat for that.
Whereas in fact he was building a coalition of the willing.
Exactly. And now it's come home to roost. And well, hopefully.
That's another really good spot. It sort of puts him in pole position because he's the one that's put in the legwork on holding together this coalition.
I mean, so far, we've not had a lot of people willing to get in the coalition of the willing.
Sure.
But hopefully those relationships will pay off. They're equally, he's getting a lot of slack from his backbenchers for going so close to Trump. And that's going to be, the heat is only going to get turned up more on that, I think.
Politically, whatever transpires, he will still, he hopes, be seen as having played a good game. Even if it comes to naught. My feeling is, I have some basis for this with sources, that Trump has decided to pull the plug on Ukraine full stop, and that there is no European seduction process that could lure him back into that place. I don't know whether that's true or not.
He did say sort of last week he believes that going forward, it's Europe's responsibility.
Yeah, well, exactly. And usually when he says it, sometimes he does actually mean what he says.
I think there might be an off-ramp. Can British officials persuade them to slowly withdraw that aid to Ukraine and slowly pull out to lessen the impact and get other countries to step up at the same time? Maybe that's something that the British government should pursue.
Do you want a line?
Do I want a line?
This is from Simon.
Go on.
The only peace Trump wants is a piece of Ukraine.
Hey,
Am I right? I'm here all week. Try the veal. That's good, Simon. I'll be nicking that and passing it off at my own, as my own at some point.
Well, look, Donald Trump does want peace. He just wants it for different reasons.
He just wants a piece of Ukraine.
He wants a Nobel Peace Prize, and he wants to be known as the guy that's done something that's impossible. Remember when Starmer gave him the letter from the King, that language. Oh my God, this has never been done before. That's what he wants. He wants to be known as the president.
And we should not conclude this conversation without reference to that letter from the King, because that is, I don't know how much of this show you heard today, but we concluded we've got no stick. But we do still have a little bit of carrot. And by far the biggest bit of the little bit of carrot is the state visit, which he really, really wants. Not as much as he wants a Nobel Peace Prize, probably.
It's up there, though, an unprecedented
I bet it is in his sort of atavistic worldview. I bet that is up there and it is still there. Although I don't know that King Charles is going to be particularly delighted about this.
Well, the King and previously the Queen always have to suck these things up, whether they like them or not, and whether they like the people that they're meeting or not. So, but yes, I think there's no coincidence that Keir Starmer started off that meeting in the Oval Office by pulling that out pretty much immediately as soon as he got there. That put Trump in a good mood, I think, and started off those conversations from a position of, right, okay, here's what we've got for you. What have you got for us? And it worked. It worked really well.
And speaking of good moods, Michael writes, how lovely to hear Natasha Clark's audible spring in her step since her Trump triumph.
Oh, thanks.
That's nice.
Very kind.
Isn't it? I agree.
Spring is in the air and I'm feeling positive about it.